The retired real estate professional, who was on a fixed income, recently poured almost $35,000 into a new front porch and a new roof. But now with Mayor Mamdani proposing a property tax increase, he feels duped.
Do you feel like he lied to you?
He'll not feel. He lied. Not feel. It's obvious.
That's why Campbell was among the dozens of homeowners in Southeast Queens who turned out for what they say was an emergency response to the mayor.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani, you are out your goddamn mind.
Hey, look, it's too late now. You already voted for him. He's already in office.
The mayor, with the greatest respects, in every campaign speech, in every debate where you engage, we opened our ears to listen. Now today, accept the words echoing from us now. Do your job as mayor and leave our taxes out.
To close a $5.4 billion budget gap, the mayor says he has two options: convince Governor Hochul to tax the wealthy, which he refuses to do, or raise the city property tax rate by 9.5%.
Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise...
I'm going to actually play a little bit from the full video. Yeah, let me see.
We are engaging in the same dance as our predecessors. Let me assure you, nothing about this is typical. That's why our solutions won't be either. There are two paths to bridge this gap. The first is the most sustainable and the fairest path. This is the path of ending the drain on our city and raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers and the most profitable corporations. The onus for resolving this crisis should not be placed on the backs of working and middle-class New Yorkers. If we do not fix this structural imbalance and do not heed the calls of New Yorkers to raise taxes on the wealthy, this crisis will not disappear. It will simply return, year after year, forcing harder and harsher choices each time. And if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path. Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property taxes. We would also be forced to raid our reserves. To balance the budget as required by law, our preliminary budget takes the only path within our control, the second path. The options of the second path are the options of last resort, options that we will only employ if there is no other means of arriving at a balanced budget. We will spend the coming months.
So his plan is to tax millionaires, billionaires, whatever. They have the ability to move. But if they leave, then where is the money going to come from? Who else are you going to tax? But that depends on the governor. She already said she's not going to do it. So if that happens, is this going to fall on everybody else?
But responsible governance is not only about revenue. It is also about discipline. That means finding savings across city government, reducing bureaucratic waste, and rendering agencies more efficient and cost-effective. That is why I signed an executive order establishing a chief savings officer in every city agency. Chief savings officers, or CSOs, have a simple remit: identifying savings within the agencies they serve. They will consolidate redundancies, insource programs that have been outsourced to bloated consultant contracts, and eliminate extraneous programs. Each CSO will issue a public report by March 20th, detailing the savings they have found and provide updated assessments every 6 months.
So pretty much he's gonna, pretty much like Doge, right? You know, he's gonna have these people come in to find where they can save money, which hopefully it doesn't raise their budget, right? Because if they hire these people, right, and they don't find anything, then they've spent more money.
These CSOs will have clear goals: 1.5% in savings in fiscal year 2026 and 2.5% in fiscal year 2027. Our work to find savings, however, is not limited to CSOs. We are pursuing a number of other avenues as well. We are significantly reducing current vacancies and removing hiring constraints to promote effective agency operations. We are hiring 50 new auditors at the Department of Finance, which we expect will generate $100 million in new revenue per year. We are also adding 200 lawyers to the law department to reduce tort liability, which we anticipate will yield $125 million in savings in fiscal year 2027 alone. We are not just looking for savings and efficiencies in the short term. We are also going after long-term causes of cost growth.
Now, again, like I was saying, so they're hiring all these people, right? So it's more spending and hoping that they are able to find budget cuts so they can cut that, so they can ultimately avoid having to raise the property taxes of everybody in New York City. Now, this part is going to go into a little bit more in depth about the two options that he says, but it's either tax the rich, which they have the option to leave, and then you're not going to have a tax base to make money off of because they left, or tax everybody else by raising the property taxes. He doesn't mention, outside of this part is the only time where he mentioned trying to find ways where they can save money in the budget to by, reducing their spending. I would have liked to hear him say that as a third option. He only frames it as having two options: either tax these people or tax these people. There should be like one of the third options should have been, trying to reduce spending.
All of that brings the fiscal deficit down to $5.4 billion. But I want to be clear, $5.4 billion is still a very steep mountain to climb. And there are two paths that we can walk. One that offers long-term stability, and a second one with significant pain that we deeply hope to avoid. The first path repairs the structural imbalance between the city and the state. We want to work with Albany to raise personal income taxes by 2% on the 33,000 New Yorkers earning more than $1 million a year, and to raise corporate taxes on the most profitable corporations.
Now, he says by 2%, which on paper it doesn't sound like a lot. These people are already making, $1 million. What's another 2%? But they're already being, I think they're already being taxed at 48% or 50%. And so you're either going to start taking half of their money or majority if it's 52%. And if you're working, knowing that 52% or 50% of your money is going to go to the government and you have the ability to move, you're just going to move. Just like all the other companies have been getting up and moving to Florida, you're just going to give them more business. And then again, you won't have other people, you won't have them to tax because they left.
We know that for far too long, New Yorkers have given far more to the state than what we have received in return. It is time to end the drain. If we cannot follow this first path, we will be forced onto a much more damaging path of last resort, one where we have to use the only tools at the city's disposal: raising property taxes and raiding our reserves. This second path is painful. We will continue to work with Albany to avoid it. This first path will deliver the structural change that we need to recalibrate the relationship between the city and the state. Because as we know, New Yorkers contribute 54.5% of state revenue, but receive only 40.5% back. At the same time, New York City's portion of the state's GDP has grown by nearly 10% since 2010. That imbalance is untenable. Once again, I'm calling for Albany to end the drain. There is no third option of failing to balance the budget. By law, ever since the fiscal crisis of the 1970s, which placed the city on the brink of bankruptcy, New York City has been legally required to balance its budget. We will do so. If we can't,
I'd say the third option is cutting a lot of the wasteful spending, but similar to Doge, but because Donald Trump is not very popular right now, he doesn't want to say that, but that's kind of what he wants to do, or kind of what he's hinting at, but he doesn't put it out there. He should say that though.
Not pursue the first path. The only option we have remaining is the second path. At the heart of this path is a property tax increase. This would effectively be a tax on working and middle-class New Yorkers who have a median income of $122,000. The second path also requires us to raid our reserves. It would mean withdrawing $980 million from our city's rainy day fund.
Hold on, I'm gonna go back. 9.5%. That's pretty much 10%. All right, that's pretty much 10%. Median of 122, and it's like, okay, well, it's only for the people that make, above six figures, right? But if they have to pay more in taxes, it's gonna drive up the rent, and everybody is pretty much gonna eat up the people that are middle class, lower middle class, and the lower class individuals. It's gonna raise tax because those people, they're not gonna eat it. Right? If you're expecting those people to foot the bill because taxes were raised 10%, they're not gonna do it. Those people, a lot of them, companies, what have you, they have to pay mortgages too, right? They have to pay the mortgage for the buildings. They have to pay the banks, and no telling what their margins are. They're not going to lose anything just so that they don't have to raise the rents. That's what they're going to have to do. So if he actually does this, it's going to raise everybody's rent, and it's going to be harder for all the people at the bottom who are not making that $122,000 a year.
The second path also requires us to raid our reserves. It would mean withdrawing $980 million from our city's rainy day fund in fiscal year 2026 and $229 million from the Retiree Health Benefit Trust in fiscal year 2027. These are steps that have been taken before, but only in moments of extraordinary external crisis. Mayor Bloomberg's response to the 2008 financial collapse and Mayor de Blasio's response to the enormous revenue shortfall caused by the pandemic. We do not want to have to turn to such drastic measures to balance our budget.
Now, he does go into more details about how the budget will be. But this is mainly, I want to mainly focus on the tax, the tax hike per se. This is about how the budget will be in the future, and things that he wants to focus on. Department of Education, social services, uniformed agencies and stuff like that. He does kind of go into it. The video from Forbes, it is about an hour long. Most of it is really the part where they get into the questions. So like only 20 minutes of it is him presenting this information.
And to Sharif and to Dean, could you just explain, if the nuclear option is the one you have to go with, what would the property tax rate be increased to? And that would be for all the four classes of properties. And then secondly, on a broader level, I know you ran on an affordability agenda, and this would likely, if this happens, if this goes down that path, not only would it go up for homeowners and you have a reform property tax system, but it would likely go up for renters because of the tax rate on multi-unit buildings. Do you want to first talk about the tax rate increase, and then also, the betrayal that some of your supporters might feel by increasing things for them?
So I'll first.
Now, before he answers, we already know this lady was not paying attention, because I said it. It was on the PowerPoint. It said 9.5%. Pay attention. She's right up there in the front.
Speak about this broadly, and then I'll go. I want to be first very clear. This is a preliminary budget. This is a budget that reflects the only tools that the city has at its disposal. When we are speaking about property taxes, that is a tool of very last resort. We believe it should be viewed as such, not only because it is a broken property tax system, but also because this is a fiscal crisis that was not created by working and middle-class New Yorkers. It should not be placed on their backs in order for the city to resolve it. That is why we...
Now, he says that in regards of course, taxing the rich. But, like I said before, everybody knows this. I don't know why sometimes people forget that, well, these people have the ability to just move, right? If they leave, which they would have an incentive to for lower taxes, then the people he said he don't want to put the taxes on, that's exactly who it's going to fall on. And again, the only the way to fix this isn't to just tax. You either raise taxes on this group of people or the other group. That's never a good idea. To just balance the budget.
Will continue to spend each and every day through this budget process, emphasizing the need to chart out the course of the first path. That path would mean increasing taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers, the most profitable corporations, and ending the drain that has long characterized the relationship between the city and the state. The property tax increase, if the city was forced to do so, would be at a 9.5% increase. This is something that we do not want to do, and this is something that we are going to utilize every single option to ensure does not come to pass.
Now, he says that, right? Like at the beginning of the video, you already seen to where they already feel betrayed. One guy said, Mamdani lied, which really, technically, he did. He said, he was going to make everything free and tax the rich. Well, he's trying to, but they can't. And that's, if I can't get those people, I'm going to go get you. That's not what they voted for, but that's what they voted for. And then, I mean, they also have to remember, or maybe they just don't know, that this is the same person that they voted in.
Another hunt.
Wake up with you on my mind. Celebrating this kind of time. So I leave my work out like Shakira. I so why call me a mulera. Jagara kura be kot nera. Just wanna put you in my cabera. So I check my baggage for some senting. Wagaranyo kukuri rente. Chop, chop, chop it up. Chop, chop, chop it up. Chop, chop, chop it up. Chop, 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 chop it up.
Kinda, and you met it. Kinda, be a bad belly. Kinda, tell me if you feel it. Kinda, do it when you're ready. Kinda, tabina kanene. Kinda, hands up in the air like. Kinda, and you met it.
This is him. This is your guy.
People like it, Basaja Balaba. Assassi, Mardadi, Fisasi, Kanda Milani, Tegutu, Fisase. Too much beauty, you don't need a dress. Bring it up, yo, Jibunana. Hiluzaidi, Jabanana. Talkum Kul Kanda Mana.
Chop, chop, chop it up. Chop, chop, chop it up. Chop, chop, chop it up. Chop, 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 chop it up.
Kanda, and met it. Kinda, be a bad belly. Kinda, tell me if you feel it. Kinda, do it when you're ready. Kinda, tabina kanene. Kinda, hands up in the air like. Kinda, and you met it. Kinda.
That's your guy right there. Look at that. That's your mayor. That's your mayor. That's your mayor. Same way he playing around with that on his face. Same way how you playing around with the taxes over there in New York.
Be a bad belly. Kinda.
Now again, I mean, I have some family up there in New York, so I don't want the taxes to kind of go up, right? Hopefully, after he kind of sends in those Doge-like agents, right? They can find ways that they, savings so that they don't have to tax anybody. I'm not for taxes. Hey, look, I'm all for less taxes. I need more money in my pocket, right? So I don't want to take more money from somebody else when I don't want more money taken from me. So hopefully his Doge like agents can find some savings so that they can close up the budget gap, and they don't have to raise the taxes on anybody, because it doesn't matter who he plans on raising the taxes on. It's just gonna fall on the middle class and the lower class people. Like, they're gonna catch it the worst, right? If the governor decides to, yes, let's tax the top percent, the millionaires and all the rich corporations, they're either gonna leave or raise the prices of their goods or their services or their rent on any of the buildings, stuff like that, and the people at the bottom are going to have to pay more. If they don't tax the rich and they tax the people who are at a median of 122,000, right? If any of them, they own property, they're going to do the exact same thing, right? Or they'll leave. And if any of the groups leave, then who are they going to get the extra money from? It's going to fall on the people that he's promising all this stuff to anyway. So raising taxes is not the way to go. He's going to have to find something else. Hopefully he doesn't, but to be honest, I'm not gonna I don't have that much faith in him. He's never had a real job over here. Just his only occupation was a part-time rapper, right? Even, it is catchy, but, they say don't quit your day job. He never had a day job, but this is his first job, and first thing he gonna do, raise taxes. Oh, man, it's crazy.